Hi Scorpio, welcome to your May 2019 relationship reading. And this is for people who are in troubled relationships or who are pining away for somebody that they were once in a relationship for, so that there's some kind of connection to that person, but that, you know, in some cases, if it's somebody that you used to have a relationship with, you may be kind of a little bit unsure whether or not you should get back together with such a person. So that's what this reading is intended for. I am going to be doing a singles love reading at some point this month, so stay tuned. I like doing this because I have the freedom to just talk about couples or things like that. Okay. That's what I have found out, is that it's very helpful to be able to do that. So the themes here I take from like kind of a challenging perspective. In other words, I'm looking at this is not a reading for people who have happy relationships, okay? Or, you know, it doesn't have to be that everything is bad in your relationship. In some cases, I just did a reading, I can't remember what sign it was, and I really felt like perhaps the person was whatever sign, I think it was Cancer, but I said, you know, maybe it's your fault that you've been doing things that have added tension to the relationship that you need to stop. So it's not like a one-way street. The heart of the matter is the Temperance card, and the Temperance card is connected to Sagittarius, in case that's the person that you're either excuse me, with right now, or that if you've met somebody new. The Temperance card to me can also be talking about a drinking situation, and it could be either that the person is, you or the other party have an alcohol problem, or that you have gotten sober. Actually, with the Temperance card in the upright position, it might be that you've gotten sober. If you've ever had any kind of issue in this regard, that I don't know if I don't want to repeat myself, but I did say this to one of the signs recently, is that hopefully it wasn't Scorpio, that there's a great movie on the topic of sobriety called When a Man Loves a Woman. I mean, it came out, I think, in the 90s. So it's with Meg Ryan and Andy Garcia. And it's such a great movie because it's a great topic. It's about like what happens to a relationship when a person gets sober, who has been the quote-unquote problem in the relationship. You know, and the other person who's the angel, who's the saint, all of a sudden they don't have that identity anymore because the other person has gotten sober. So it was kind of, I found it very refreshing to see a movie from that kind of perspective, because it's such a true thing. And so the problems that exist when there is addiction in the relationship, all of a sudden, it's not that they go away even if there is sobriety, but the person who is the sober one, or who was all along the sober one, a lot of times they may find out that they had their own issues that they were dealing with, that they had a need to feel like the person who had their life together, and now they don't have that identity, and they have to like learn how to deal with that relationship in a whole new way. Also, this is about balance in relationships. The angel has one foot in the water and one foot on land. So this is symbolic for balance between the spirit and the physical. And what we could say too is, if you feel like you had, sometimes people have a very spiritual relationship that is not, that is platonic, or they have just a very physical relationship that doesn't have like spiritual qualities to it. And, you know, so these are kind of extremes. So I don't know like how that would particularly relate to you. I'm just going to keep going to see if more things start to make sense. The past position, we have the Two of Swords. So this can feel like, being at a crossroads of trying to make a decision. And, you know, going back to the original scenario of addiction, if you have dealt with somebody and in the past you've been like, I really want to leave, and then they promise that they're going to get sober, and it just keeps going back and forth. That's a possibility that you get lured into this belief that everything has changed, and then it eventually goes back. The other thing too is, and the temperance, I could even see like the temperance card for somebody, if you love somebody who is bipolar, or, I'm just using that as a catch-all phrase for people that have mood disorders, who sometimes are on an even keel, and then sometimes they're they have certain problems where they are always they're argumentative, or they are getting into trouble. And this is sometimes also connected to substance abuse. Binge alcoholics exist where they're not constantly drinking, but then when they have some kind of a chemical imbalance, or whatever you want to call it, a trigger that sets them off, then they start going off on a bender, or going out all the time, carousing. Who knows? Carousing, that sounds like such an old-fashioned word. So maybe you've thought about leaving before. This can also be that you can't see eye to eye with this person. Maybe you're just two different people. Maybe you have a spiritual side. Well, I know a lot of Scorpios do. And this person is an atheist. And you feel like at this point that you just have nothing in common, or not enough in common. And you're just kind of like both digging your heels in, refusing to see the other person's point of view. And even this could even relate to staying where you are. I'm thinking of someone who wants to move, perhaps. I don't know. But the higher message is the Fool. And so this is about, trusting that if you are going to start over again in your life, that everything is going to kind of fall into place. The universe will support you, and you just have to have that trust that we associate with the Fool, being somebody who is totally innocent and trusting, while at the same time not being foolish, where you are being overly optimistic about something that you should not be. Because I'm not one of those people. I don't tell people what to do in any type of reading. However, I do say sometimes that you have to really look at things in a grounded way. That if you are wanting to strike out on your own, that you have some kind of, what would they call it? Like a safety net, maybe. And it doesn't have to be like a real, big one, but something. And I think a lot of Scorpios would be like that. But being overly cautious is not necessarily a great idea either. So it's really about balance between your own needs for change and the realities of the situation. So you are going to have in May, Scorpio, a full moon in your sign at 27 degrees of Scorpio. So this is a time where you may be saying goodbye to a certain aspect of yourself anyhow. And of course, when you're saying goodbye to something, you're also saying hello to something else. So it is a new beginning by virtue of it being an ending. What crosses you is the Queen of Cups. Typically, I see you as the Queen of Cups, and this is a very psychic kind of card. And you are water signs, so you are cups. I think this is connected to Cancer, specifically of all the water signs. But the point being that this is in the challenge position. So how many Scorpios are going against their intuition and second guessing themselves? I think a lot of second guessing is done when you don't feel like you can trust yourself. And trusting yourself isn't something that you just do. Trusting yourself comes with time, that the person is willing to acknowledge that they need to change how they do things. Maybe you're the kind of person who has kind of gotten into a rut of sorts because of a relationship, and you've just been used to, in some cases, if you're dealing with addiction, for instance, handling one crisis after the other and not really paying attention to what you need. For other people, it could be that you have gotten used to the limitations in your relationship, and perhaps you're really looking for that spiritual connection, but you've turned your back on your spiritual connection. And for some of you, again, it's simply that you're naturally intuitive, being a water sign. But if you are in a very emotional state because of somebody else's behavior, you may shut down that part of yourself, and then you don't really have anything to go on except for just habitual patterns. And so perhaps this is almost like you making a commitment to your spiritual self. Actually, with the Fool as a higher message, as a spiritual message, it could be talking about a pilgrimage. And what I mean by that is not necessarily visiting a holy site like Mecca, or, there's a place in, I think it's Spain, El Camino. It's like you take this long walk or something. Some of you probably know what I'm talking about, but there's all kinds of different things that people do to act as a pilgrimage. But this could be something where you are kind of breaking free from the constraints of the past. So, and it has a spiritual connection to it. So maybe it's going to India or something, and you just want to have that sense of like putting a punctuation mark, putting a period on a certain phase of your life. So, for instance, getting a divorce and going to Bali or something, and like kind of like an eat, love, pray. A spiritual journey that you may have only the outlines of what you want to do. See, the Fool is not about, okay, here, what's the itinerary? It's just about like, I just want to feel free to choose whatever. I don't want to have this set notion of what I'm going to do, but you might have a vague idea of it, just for the feeling of freedom. Advice is a Knight of Pentacles. So this is a card of being a worker bee. Maybe this is to save up money so that you can leave a relationship that is no longer serving you, and you're just going to put your nose to the grindstone, and you have like, okay, for the next 6 months, I'm going to just work. Maybe I'm going to get a second job just to save extra money because I want to go to Bali or Hawaii or whatever, and I just want to have this experience where I feel this sense of freedom. But right now I have to think practically. I have to have a certain amount of money. I think of the Knight of Pentacles as just somebody who is just very consistent working. The Knight of Pentacles connects to Taurus, so perhaps there's a Taurus person. Doesn't have to be a lover. It can be like a person who you connect with that is helping you during this transition. And the outcome is the Nine of Pentacles, another card connected to Pentacle, Earth energy. And this is a card of self-sufficiency in terms of your money. So this is somebody who's able to support themselves and do so quite nicely, do so in style. And that's where your freedom lies. So you're working so that you can get to that point. So then you can determine, what you're going to do next in life. You're not at somebody else's, you're not at the mercy of someone else's choices, whims, mood swings, addictions, that sort of thing. Okay, that's what I have for you, Scorpio. So if you'd like a personal reading, please check me out at rainandmoonastrology.com, and I have the link to my online shop. Take care. Bye.